Good. All right. We are now going to open the Escada Urban Renewal Agency meeting. We are now call it to order and roll call, please. Statement.
Director Hughes. Here. Director Lidkey.
Here.
Director McElroy.
Here.
Director Prokop. Here. Director Strobel.
Here.
Director Tenbush.
Here.
Chair Drinkline.
Here, thank you very much for that. We are at the first citizen and community group comment. I have none in front of me, so we'll move right along to the consent agenda. We're approving the February 13th, 2023 minutes. Do I have a motion on the floor?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
First and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Minutes passed. Thank you very much for that. We are not at agency business, Main Street Improvement Final Design Approval.
Yes,
I think-
okay, thank you. And we are hoping for an approval this evening. In the packet, there's the initial design drawings following the direction from the board at multiple meetings, but the last meeting we had was February 13th. And so we have the attached drawings here. The page 1 is just the cover, and then page 2 is the existing conditions of the street. As far as you can see, there's still the bump outs at Third and the little center islands. And so that just shows you the existing conditions. And then if you scroll on down or flip a page, then it shows the layout of what the street will look like. The first one is from between Third and Fourth. And then the next page is between Fourth and the highway. So if there's any questions, I think that we've captured what the intent of the board was. But if you have questions, now is a good time. And then, well, if not, if there's no other changes, then we would want to go ahead and make a motion to approve.
Okay, do I have any questions on the floor? Joel?
Okay, so I was hoping that Kurt would be here so we could get some clarifications. But he's not, only because in the back of the packet, we have the old picture stuff still there. So just for everybody that called me over the last 3 days, and I'm sure other people have questions, just want to clarify a few things and what we're actually going for, and that maybe Melanie can speak to why these things are in here. But I think previous conversation, you said that you were trying to show the parking spots on there, correct?
Yes, those are the attachments that go with the staff report for the potential off-street parking. And it didn't dawn on me that people might consider that those, that if we choose the off-street parking, now we're also getting bump outs. That didn't really cross my mind. I was just attaching those because they went with the potential layouts for the off-street parking, and that's the next item on the agenda.
Good.
Yeah.
Gonna use the big board here because we have it. All right, so a couple things on the big one so everybody understands what's on here. So first of all, I'm backwards. Okay. No bump outs on for those that can hear me. Okay, no bump outs on any of the corners. This is the current picture we're using. No bump outs in any corners, as you can see. This position here, which you identified in the ones that are kind of older here, is where the parking lot would go, but no bump outs even if the parking lot comes, okay? There's gonna be stop signs in the 4 corners here. And we said a 3-way stop up here, right?
I think we're doing a study, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is undetermined here, okay?
And the
Yes.
4-way stop at Fourth is also undetermined.
For
It's
the study.
likely, but we're doing a traffic study.
A traffic study. So this is undetermined. Because I think, oh, Kurt is here. Hey, Kurt.
That's
It's not
Peter.
Kurt.
Peter, I
That's
meant Peter, Kurt, sorry.
But the
It's been a long
traffic,
week already.
the
started.
traffic stops are a consensus of
Yeah,
the,
they're already there.
It's a consensus that we want them,
They're doing counts.
but we're doing the traffic study
Yes.
to back that up.
step 1.
You
Okay.
have to do that.
So- And then the parking is not gonna have any diagonal parking. It's all gonna be parallel. And we currently are leaving 2 driveways here at State View, there's one out there. And we're moving this into 1 driveway, which I think we're talking about making it larger for them if they so desire.
For the Chevron.
Yep.
Yes.
And then right here on the side of Chapman's or Chevron, we're going to bring this up a ways, leaving I think it was an exit at the very top. We're gonna bring this up a little ways so that people can't cut across. trying to put some sort of like trees or bench or something there so people won't cut the corner going into Chapman's. That was the last thing discussed.
Yeah, that will come out. Kurt will come and discuss the actual
Design.
engineered design when we get that far. So there, some of those details that you're delving into, I couldn't promise 100% like exactly where the driveways are going, but that, as you see them on there, is the plan.
So
for it.
can you clarify then what we are approving? Because if those are the things that we discussed and we're not
Mhm.
approving that tonight, what are we approving?
You are approving that the bump outs have been removed. There'll be no diagonal parking, only parallel parking on the street. That there is planned to have no driveways removed from Ace, and like you said, plan to have two driveways into Chapman's, but a realignment, but that's, I can't tell you exactly how that's gonna realign. But that, it is on there as a driveway and it is adjusted a little,
So we're approving the design.
Mhm.
Just the design.
Well,
design.
I'm just trying to clarify what those design actually.
Mhm.
It's what's on that.
Is
what's
there
on that
anything I
picture.
missed, by the way, but
No.
Several studies will be done prior to this that we have to,
Mhm.
to get to that point. So,
well, it says we're approving the final one, and that's why I wanted to be so clear about things. Because like I said, a lot of calls based upon what this was and wanted to clarify anything. Is there anything else that I may have missed besides what we went over?
all right, so do you want a vote on this particular item here?
That would be great to have a motion. Can't remember how I phrased it in there
I
too.
got- I got it.
Okay, thank you.
I move to approve the Main Street improvement design as presented in the attached drawing, which is that drawing behind Joel.
Yeah.
second.
You got a first and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Off-street parking, the next section, and we kind of got an idea how that's gonna go.
Yes, so unfortunately, the drawings that go with this, I just pulled from I didn't have Kern McLeod redraw these just for the sake of time and money. But they do show the old street alignment, but they show where the potential off-street parking could take place in the lot at the corner of Fourth and Main. And just wanted to get some direction from the board on, is this something that you want to move forward with, looking into what we would, it seemed like there was a good amount of interest in it previously. So staff could explore options for purchasing that and bring an offer back to the board for consideration. If that is something that you'd want to go forward. I don't know if Peter wants to say anything about that.
So off-street parking is part of your urban renewal plan. Traditionally, when cities I represent look at that, one of the things you look at is the net number of parking spaces that you're gaining. Because you're going to lose some parking spots on the street in order to allow more parking on the interior property. So it's just a matter of looking at what's the net gain, what's the cost of the property, what are the cost of the improvements like paving it. Usually get a net number and that kind of drives the discussion. We'd want to talk about those sort of numbers in an executive session because we wouldn't want to tip our hand as far as what we're willing to pay to the property owner. But that's the framework I'm accustomed to using. There might be some other public purpose that you would be looking at that would cause you to be willing to pay a premium. I don't know if that exists or not. But those are the sort of things that I would recommend you look at in deciding it. And again, I reviewed your plan. There's no problem using funds for to acquire additional off-street parking.
Great. And I think, well,
So what would we be approving tonight? What kind of direction we would be, as I understand it, we would be basically approving allowing staff to move forward with investigating, to see, is this something that we could be purchased, market value? Does it make sense?
Yeah, we're gonna need some estimates as far as the costs of the improvements, because we would have to bring that up to spec. And also what the property owner is looking to get at. Sometimes these negotiations can take a while, so before spending staff resources on it, I just said a best practice would be to kind of gauge interest. If it's a hard pass, then we don't have to waste any time.
and I think.
Oh, no, not to cut you off, Mayor, but I think the last meeting we had about it, we were pretty much all on board as to move forward and investigate utilizing that space as potential parking for the future, so.
And I think the straight parking slots versus the slanted was what we all talked about, getting the most bang for the buck. So, yeah, I think it's consensus that we
Yeah.
move forward at this point. Go ahead, Mike.
Peter, is there a common number per space that like they use as a baseline, like the cost per parking space added? That where it makes sense and what number where it doesn't make sense?
I mean, what I recommend is if there are other spots where you could add off. So my understanding is this is a fairly narrow parcel. And so it's not, the net number is not going to be a huge increase in the property owner has a fair amount of money into it. So if we're looking at paying something like $60,000 per stall or something like that, at that point, the number might not work for you guys. Unless, again, there might be other aesthetic reasons to add this to help jumpstart other growth and that sort of thing. But as far as a baseline, no, if you're beginning to pay more than you would be paying for above ground parking, that usually results in a no.
And then one more question I want to ask before I let you speak is, now originally we had talked about this property being a parking feature right now. But should in 10 years we decide to use it for something else, we could also do that.
Or
And-
if somebody wanted to purchase it to develop it
Exactly.
privately.
So we have to look at that
Yeah.
feature too. So
Could be
would
resold.
we lose it, too much money, or would it just be, and I'm sure we can hit a market price, what we're actually seeing now versus what we were seeing a year ago is totally different. So. Joel.
I think that's kind of along the lines, what I was gonna say is that while we're purchasing for parking, there's a lot of other reasons why it keeps that corner somewhat clear for people when you're trying to see if people coming up and down the road and makes it a little more safer. And there's other reasons you can use it for, whether it's an aesthetic place as well. There's lots of reasons, and like you said, it can be used for other stuff down the road or resold if need be. So.
Okay, so it sounds like there's consensus to have us start looking into what the process would be and coming back with
Some
some
numbers.
numbers
Yeah.
to look at.
So do you need this motion?
No, I really wanted to, one of the first meetings that I staffed in recent times, there was a lot of thought that related to a property that the city had bought and then was supposed to be purchased. And what I heard is a lot of people saying, it was a treat store, and like, we don't want to become the developer. We don't want to hold properties. And so when Melanie brought this up, I said, well, let's just really make sure that we understand what these numbers are. And also whether council essentially wants to be back in that position, which is holding property for potentially for future development.
Yeah,
Before we proceed.
man, sorry. I think the big difference between the other one was we bought the property with the intent to fix it up and resell it and rent it out in the meantime and things. That was the intent. Where this one is the intent for the city at this point to maintain for parking, and that would be part of city property like we did over here. So it's
Yeah.
the different intent of things, the big issue there. A big thing.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of this Main Street project, one of the big keys for us was to create more on-street parking, I guess. We wanted to create more parking. That was one of the intents with the Main Street, project. That was one of our first keys. So, I just think if the money, pencils out to even being close, I just think it's a good idea for us because it hits that mark, it creates more parking.
I think to not waste resources, a good starting place would be to talk to the property owner and find out if they're willing to budge on the price of the property, because right now it's at $42,000 per parking space just for the property without any improvements. And I can't see that it's gonna be pushing can't imagine it's gonna be less than 100,000 to improve it.
Yeah, I mean, I think
That would be crazy to think that. So if it's really 150 to 2, we're already there if there's no movement on the property itself. I'm all for, I want the parking space. I think it's a great place for it. I think it's a great idea, but if the numbers you're saying 60,000 is where, it wouldn't make sense. It seems like that's where it's falling with it. So maybe we'll see if there's some movement first before you, a lot of energy spent, is my
Before we
opinion.
do
Not
something
necessarily
formal, right?
speaking for anyone else, but that's my opinion on it.
Okay,
So consensus,
All right.
says move forward.
move
on that.
forward. Okay.
And I have one more question to throw in here at this time, because I'm curious. On the first urban renewal project we did on Broadway,
Mhm.
there were two sets of banner poles put in. One at the, the old high school pharmacy area,
Mhm.
which is wonderful.
Mhm.
But the other one in the front that we put in, when we designed it, when it was all designed, it was designed improperly. So what you get is a slanted banner pole. And what happens is the wind comes through there and it rips it. I don't care if you use metal up there. You cannot save it. We've tried everything. So I'm wondering that during the project, because it falls in the urban renewal, if those banner poles can be moved to the center area that we're doing for that crossing area, to be able to utilize them because they're art pieces. And right now they're wasted up there. So either do that or find a way to, we had talked about this, weld an arch like they've done in the Troutdale area, because we're looking to redirect the diesel traffic that goes in the downtown core. So that would make it so big rigs wouldn't come through there. They'd come on second, like we had initially proposed, or main, right? So finding a way to use those rather than just let them sit there
Okay, yeah, we can look
non-utilized.
look, I hadn't thought about moving them. That's interesting thought, rather than just getting some standard banner poles to install on Main Street.
What would tie in with the Broadway?
Yeah.
So I thought, why not
Mhm.
utilize them in that way? At least we'd have something that kind of goes together. on
Yeah,
two
good
streets.
question.
We do have a local metal sculptor. I'm sure everybody's seen the big flame throwing rooster. Metal sculptor. We do have a local metal sculptor. So
Yeah.
that, the arch, doing a metal archway over there, that'd be pretty cool.
That
And
would be nice, huh? Nice way to come into Estacada. I don't know. It's just something to think about. So we utilize those before we move on. So we're not just sitting on those. They were very expensive. As I remember, they were pretty expensive.
They're unique, that's, and, yeah, designed specifically for that. Okay. Any other thoughts or?
No, I think that's
Great idea.
everything on that.
Okay.
So I'm at the next citizen and community group comment. There are none. Board members wish to comment on anything before we move along? No? Okay, this meeting is adjourned.